Welcome everyone to the Knitting by the Sea podcast. My name is Lisa. I'm Saratoga Knitting on Instagram and on Ravelry, and I welcome you to my home. I live in Marblehead, Massachusetts, which is a little harbor town just north of Boston. And I live in the very old part of town, so we live in a very old house right down by the harbor, and I welcome you today. It's been a little bit of a bit, so I have some things to talk about today. So today I think we will do finished objects. I have two today, thank goodness. And then I have several works in progress. I have some upcoming plans, and then I'll just have some chatter and talk about what's been happening here. So let's get started. Finished objects. I actually have two today, and I'm really happy about both of them. The first one I've been working on for a while. It really is just my bus knitting. I have a long commute because I work in Boston, and Boston's only, it's only 20 minutes as the crow flies, but I have to take a bus and the T to get over to the Fenway by where I work. So I have some time in the morning on the bus usually that I knit. So I really like to usually take a pair of socks along, or maybe a simple shawl, something along those lines that I don't really have to have a chart too much for or anything like that, and just keep on that I can just pull out and keep on knitting easily. And this is the pattern that I chose. This is the Pembroke scarf. It's very lovely. It's by Elizabeth McCartan, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. So it's really just a very lovely, it's a long asymmetrical little scarf that just goes around your neck, and I'm super happy with this. I really love this. I'll just wear it around my neck. I love the colors of it, and I've shown this to you before. I've been using I used 6 and 7 fiber for this, and it's just lovely. And I think this was actually a one-of-a-kind that she did, and I think there were maybe some breaks in color because it was a sale item, but it's so gorgeous. I wouldn't have any problem with this yarn whatsoever, but I think there's a little bit of cashmere in here too, so it is just delightfully soft, I'm so happy with this. This is just going to be, it's just going to go on my wall and be one of those that I can wrap around my neck when I need something traveling, or even just in the fall when you're outside and you just need a little bit of something around your neck. I'm really pleased with this. It's so pretty. It's so soft. Oh, it's wonderful. This is one of those patterns. It's super easy. Once you understand what you're doing, you just zip right along, and so it's great. I'm sure I will make this again. It's similar to the Hitchhiker shawl, but this is it's really beautiful, and it just shows off the variegated yarn wonderfully. So I'm really happy with that. So that's my finished object number 1. The finished object number 2 are the Adige socks, Adige, and these socks I did as a test knit. They're not available yet, but they're by Mina Servana, who is Finfrost on Instagram, and she has the Frostbites podcast. She is from Finland, and she is a delightful person. I love to watch her podcast. She's just so quiet, and it's just very, very comforting. There's nothing loud about it whatsoever. She does beautiful knitting. Lots of times she will podcast outside, and so she takes lots of walks. She does knitting outside in the winter, so you really get to see the beautiful Finnish countryside. And this past podcast, she has traveled. I'm pretty sure she was traveling to Italy. Yes, she was traveling to Italy, and she has beautiful shots of the mountains there, and just the houses, and it just looked like a fabulous trip. But go and follow her on Instagram, and I think you'll really be pleased. But she does also do some designing. So I think she has a new wrap pattern out right now, and then I think these socks are going to be the next one. So she put out a call for some testers on these. And she said it was a cuff down pattern with lace, and I usually don't do that. I usually favor doing toe up socks. That's just the way that I like to do it. That's my usually my go-to, because I know how many to cast on. I know the heel I like to do, and I just kind of go up to where I like to have the cuff up on the leg. So it's really just an easy formula. I don't really have to think too much about it. But these were top they're top down, so cuff down socks, so something different for me. So I thought, and lace, and I actually like doing lace socks. They're small enough so that you don't. I usually didn't do these on the bus because of the lace. I needed a chart, but at the same time, socks with lace, a little lace pattern is really actually kind of nice, because usually, not in this particular pair, but many times the lace pattern just goes on the front of the sock. So really you're doing the front of the sock in the lace, which is not that many. I mean, most sock patterns are 30, 32 stitches on the front. So maybe 60 or 64 stitches around. So 30 stitches of a lace pattern really isn't a lot to get your head around. And so sometimes I like them. And lace socks, I think, are very, 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 very elegant. I like to wear all kinds of crazy colored socks at work. It's kind of a casual. It's not jeans type of place, but it's definitely casual wear. It's definitely not suits and dresses or high heels or anything like that. I work at a college, so it's pretty business casual, I guess we would call it here in this country. So I usually wear pants, and in the wintertime, I have so many socks. I always wear a pair of hand knit socks, and so people always know that I do that, and they're always looking, and usually they're kind of crazy colors, and so that's always fun. But when I knit a pair of lace socks, I will usually try to do those in a single. Oh, sorry, the cat just arrived. I think she knocked the chair a little bit here. This is the other thing. I don't hear it anymore, but people comment on it. She's in here. She may walk around a little bit or jump up on something. She has a little bell. Oh, you see her tail there. She has a little bell on it, so you may hear it, and I don't even hear it anymore. But if you hear, yeah, there it is. If you hear a little bell, that's our cat. I think she's going to go over, and I have the window open. I think she's probably going to go over and sit in the window while I do this. But anyway, knitting lace socks in a single color or a very very softly tonal yarn, it just makes the lace pop, and it's just really beautiful and very, very elegant, under a nice pair of pants with some nice shoes. So when she came out with this, I had some kind of mystery, very dark, almost black gray yarn, and I can't remember where I got it. I might have, it didn't come in a swap. It might have come, I think I had ordered maybe I had ordered a class from Craftsy for my husband back a while ago, and sometimes Craftsy has some specials. I think I would order this class, and then I could order, you could get a gift or something. So I think I ordered a skein of yarn from them, and I think that this is where this is from, because I couldn't find a tag anywhere for it, and it's probably not something that I wouldn't have ordered. It's not something that I would have looked for, purchased in a yarn shop. It's just, it was a freebie, and so I thought, well, I'll get it, and I think this is the yarn that I received. But for this, I thought, well, I have that yarn. I have a lot of, well, not a lot, but I have some skeins of yarn, but they'd be too variegated for the lace pattern. So I thought I would try this really dark gray, and everyone else who had done the test knits had done very light colors, like blues and light pinks and kind of light greens, which were lovely. But I really like the dark with the lace with the dark. I think it really just, as I said, it's very, 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 very elegant. It's a very different look. So this is the sock. It is just gorgeous. I don't know if you can see. Oh, there we go. The lace pattern of it. It's really just very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. The back of the sock. So the lace on this is just in the front of the sock, and the back of the sock is a ribbed pattern. And there's a heel flap and gusset, again, something I usually don't do, and that was actually really good, because one of the suggestions that I had for Mina when doing the test knit was just the way the instructions were written for the heel flap and gusset. As someone who doesn't really do them very often, of course I have in the past, but not very often. So it was easier for me to look at the pattern and follow the instructions as someone who had never done that before, because that's really what a test knitter is looking for. They're not looking for you to take the pattern and just kind of go along and do what you usually do. You really need to take that pattern and knit it row by row exactly the way it's written, and that way you'll be able to come up, you'll see if there's an error or if there was something that was misprinted. or you'll see that maybe there's a better way to do it. You can't just stop and go, oh, I can finagle my way around this. I've knit long enough. I know. That's not the point. You need to stop and not do that, and then go back to the designer and say, hey, I'm doing this, and this is the way it's written, and do you think maybe you could write it in a little different way, or here's a suggestion on how you might want to write it. So I think that's really what a test knitter is all about. So I was able to do that as a suggestion on the heel. So I did my part on the test knitting, but I'm really happy with these. I would highly recommend them when she finally publishes the pattern, which I think is fairly soon. I think probably in September these will be published. But I did 2 of them, so I have the pair, and so these will go into my sock rotation for the fall, and I'm really looking forward to wear these. They fit great. I usually do a fish lips kiss heel, but certainly the heel flap and gusset on this worked perfectly fine, and they fit on my feet as well. So super happy. And again, the Adige, Adige, and I can't remember, but I think she named them after a particular place or a particular river in Italy. I really should look that up. I can't remember what it was, but and then she was looking at pictures of where she was going to visit before she went. And then she liked the name, and so she named these socks after that place, and then she actually went there during her trip after she had already named these socks, which I think is really cool. It's a really cool little story. So I'm very happy with those, and definitely check her out on Instagram and take a look at her podcast, because that's really wonderful too. All right, that's all I have for finished objects, so let's move on to some works in progress. In progress. What have I been working on? Of course, I say this every time, but what haven't I been working on? I don't have too many this time, though. Let's see. I thought I would bring back, you've seen this before, but I'm going to show you some progress because I've been making some. This is the Bits and Bobs blanket by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears, and it's a fantastic pattern. So this is meant to be kind of a scrappy blanket. So you take any of your leftovers. It's knit with two strands of fingering weight yarn, and the way Kay designed it is that she, in her pattern, and I think probably a lot of people that have knit this have used one strand of the same color throughout the blanket, and then added in different colors as they go along. Now I have a bag full. I probably have more somewhere else there in my basket, but I have a big bag full of leftover sock yarn, leftover Trey Liz yarn from my So Faded sweater. I have so much in here, and it's great. And this pattern is giving me a chance to use up this fabulous yarn. I'm not one for doing the mitered squares, and I'm not really, I crocheted when I was a kid. So I don't really do too much crochet anymore, so I wouldn't really be interested in doing a crocheted scrappy blanket. But a knitted one, I think it's a great idea. And if you remember that this pattern is kind of a fake brioche, it gives you that same squishy feel to it. But I think it's actually called Fisherman's Rib, or it's a version of Fisherman's Rib. And it's not complicated at all. You're doing the same thing on every row, which is great. And once you've done a couple of rows, you then can see how your stitches are set up, and so you know exactly what you're doing on the next row. I am slipping the first stitch on every row, and that just gives a nice even edge to the blanket. This, for us, it will end up being kind of a lap blanket, so I'll just throw it onto the couch because it's actually getting heavy. You'll see, and I don't even have that much done. But what I'm doing with this is that I have just grabbed 2. I don't have one particular color running through the whole blanket. I have just picked out at random 2 to start, and I just did that. And every now and again, I will change one of those yarns, and then I'll do some more, and then I'll change the other one, so that it really, it's not necessarily, it's not fading, but the colors are changing, and I love it. I just think this is great. So now, talking about it, let me show you what it's coming out like. So I don't know how long I've been working on this. Probably maybe 6 months. Has it been that long? It might have been, but I just love it. So I just go in and grab yarn and kind of move on up. You can see what it looks like. So it's extremely stretchy, and it's just very squishy. Oh my gosh! I mean, you could certainly do this with all one color. You could do it, you could stripe it if you wanted to. So you could change, do 2 strands of one color, 2 strands of the next. You could do really anything you'd want with this pattern. I really like it, and we're going to be fighting over this when this finally gets to the couch. It's a perfect pattern for me, or a perfect project for me to pick up when I'm just, the day's been too long and I just want to sit down and knit in front of the television. Or yeah, just no thought needs to go into this at all. And your interest is kept up because it just keeps the colors keep changing whenever you want to. There's no pattern or anything. You just pick it up and change a color whenever you want. So I'm very, very pleased with this. So this is the Bits and Bobs blanket by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. My next project. This is one of my. It's just knitting. It's just knitting projects. Now, I always talk about. Well, first of all, this is a project I'm making out of my hand spun. So this is hand spun. I've had this. I've had the fiber for a long time. I've been picking away at it slowly, and then once I finished it. I decided that I had some of this beautiful, beautiful pink lace weight silk. It's yarn that I had won in a contest, and it is just beautiful. And I often do this. I will often take my hand spun and singles and ply it with a commercial yarn, and that extends out the amount of hand spun that I have because I'm not plying it together. I'm not Navajo plying it, which makes 3 strands. So this one gives you more bang for your buck to do this. So I don't always do it, but sometimes I do. And in this case, you can see in this strand, the darker piece is the hand spun, and then the light pink is the silk. But it's very, very soft and squishy. So I had so much of this, I didn't have enough to make a sweater, but I'm like, I'm going to just make a cowl. So I decided on making the Floats Cowl, it's called, and it's by Canton, and it's actually from Purl Soho. So you could go, if you look at Purl Soho, which is a knitting store, if you look at their website, they actually have tons of free patterns that you can just download and use. Of course, they use their own yarns that's what they're doing. They're highlighting with these patterns, but they're really nice patterns. They're very elegant. They're very well photographed. I like that. Really is a very nice aesthetic to their website. So they have lots of patterns, and I've made things that they have offered before. This one I thought was really interesting because it's a slip stitch pattern, and it is what you would think of normally as the wrong side is set to be the right side of the piece that you would look at. Not that's to say that the back side is not attractive as well, but for this particular piece, the yarn that they knitted in, the back side with the floats on it is the more interesting piece. Now, I'll tell you the next piece, and you know what's going to happen here. This is a very large cowl, so I have cast on. There's over 200 stitches. I don't remember what it was, but there's a lot. There were so many I had to use stitch markers, so I would count by 50. So I knew, rather than starting at the just keeping a count. So when you do something in the round, and you're going to attach in the round, like at the bottom of a sweater, or if you're doing socks cuff down, even the cuff of a sock, you want to be very careful not to twist your stitches. And so the trick on that basically is to, you can, not so much on a sock if you're doing magic loop, but you can on the bottom of a sweater, if you're knitting it top from the bottom up, you can just, especially if it's just a rib, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, you can just cast on all of your stitches and then just knit back and forth for 3 or 4 rows until you have enough of the fabric, so you can then be confident when you're joining it in the round that it hasn't been twisted at all. So you can more easily see if you knit back and forth for a couple of rows, and no one will ever know. You just basically tack that little separation there at the bottom up when you finish the sweater, and no one is the wiser. There's no reason to struggle with that, trying to make sure everything is set if you're doing a large piece in the round like this. Now, this particular pattern, I wasn't sure. I'm like, I could do that, but then I wasn't sure that the way the slip stitches were going, whether that would actually work very well back and forth. So I thought I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to wing it. Let me show you what the pattern looks like. Yeah, and when I did it, I'm about this far now in it. You know, it's going to be a thick cowl, perfectly fine. It's like long, so it's going to be double wrapped around, really. And as I was knitting this on the bus to work, and as I was knitting it the other day and looking at it, I'm like, huh, oops, you know, you're trying to like get everything all lined up. I was like, this just kind of keeps on rolling along. So yeah, that's what I had done. When I joined it, I twisted the stitches. And in this particular case, it makes zero difference, absolutely zero difference, none whatsoever. This is a cowl. No one will ever know unless I told them, you know, this is between you and me, but no one will ever know. Even a knitter would take it off and go, oh, this is really cool, you made a Mobius scarf, cowl. And I'll be like, yep, yes I did, definitely on purpose. But yeah, it's definitely twisted, but it won't matter whatsoever. The other interesting thing too, and here's another one, you know, you just never know kind of how your yarn is going to match the particular project that you're using. And when I started this, I was like, oh, this will be really cool. And of course the sample that they had knit in Purl Soho was in this lovely white cream colored yarn. And it looks great. The backside looks really interesting. You can see all the floats. It's very, very clear what's going on. And with the hand spun, a little bit of thick and thin, it really doesn't look that good on that side. But again, it does not matter because this is a big cowl going around my neck. And the fronts and the back, what they consider the backside, looks great. So it just basically, you know, is a knit 2 and purl 3. It's basically just a rib all the way around, but you're slipping some of those stitches. So I'm just going to go with it. It's perfectly fine. It's a very enjoyable knit. It's very easy to do, and I think it's going to look fabulous. And it's in hand spun. What's not to like about it? So I'm pretty happy, but I just thought I would share that with you because it happens to everyone. Happens to everyone, but I'm really happy with this, and I think it's going to look really nice. I'm already liking all the difference in the variations in the color with the hand spun, because the hand spun is kind of this like this dullish browny gray color, but there's like these pops of maroon in it, really pretty, and some pinks and things. So I'm really happy with the way this is really going to look, and it's really super soft, so it's going to be great around my neck as a cowl. So that is, again, the Floats cowl. Really pretty. I would definitely make this again, and with a different yarn. I would like wear it on the outside the way they anticipate that you're going to do it. The third project that I'm doing is a new test knit. This is just going to be a quick one. It's a test knit for a new sock pattern by Sara Lozzi, and Sara is part of the Harry Potter knit along, and so I was saying my second work in progress is another test knit, or third work in progress, I think. This is for Sara Lozzi, she's part of the O'Loop's Harry Potter knit along group, and she lives in the next town over from me, so we've met before. And she was actually, if you remember, she was the one organizing knitting of the preemie hats for Salem Hospital, where Sophia was born. So anyway, she was putting together a sock pattern that she's hoping to have ready for the Harry Potter knit along in time for that, if anybody wanted to use it in one of the projects or extracurricular activities. So and it's a little slip stitch pattern with a contrasting yarn. So I just pulled out some yarn that I have. I've made some color changes, so this is not something that I'm going to, I'll knit, she just needs one sock knit, so I'm really just basically knitting this for a sample for this particular pattern. I might make it during the Harry Potter knit along, so I'll already have it, and we'll have it ready to go. But again, I want to show it to you because you can see the difference in choosing some yarn. So this basically is the yarns that I started out with, some really beautiful light greens. I think these were both left over from Treyla's from the So Faded sweater, and I thought I would use the yellow as a contrast, but because the green has a lot of pops of dark color, it wasn't really working very well. So then I thought, well, I have some of that black, still have some of that really dark gray yarn that I used on the other socks that I test knit. So I thought I would try that instead as the background color. And that is working much, much better. Now, there are still issues. I think one side of the sock pulls out the pattern better than the other, and I just think it's because the Trellis yarn has a really lot of these super dark sections in it, so you don't necessarily see sometimes if those black or those darker pops of color come in, you don't see it behind, you don't see the contrast with the dark yarn as well. So again, just a thought, even though you look at a skein of yarn and you think it's just speckled and it's mostly light, it may not particularly work. Something like this is probably going to work better with a striped, solid striped skein of yarn. So just solid stripes, no speckles, no fades, no tones or anything in it, no variegation, just straight. Just a straight striped yarn, and then with a plain background color. That would be the better. That's basically what I would look for if I was to when I knit this again. But anyway, so I wanted to show this to you just as kind of an interesting contrast issue. What I do like about this is that I have in here my yellow waste yarn, because part of this pattern is doing an afterthought heel. And I have never, ever, ever done an afterthought heel. So I really like to, see if I can stretch myself a little bit so I have the waste yarn. So when I finish this and finish the leg of this, I'm going to go back and pick up the stitches and then snip these stitches, this waste yarn out, and knit the heel. So I'm going to really find that to be very interesting. So I'll probably be doing that certainly within the week. This pattern goes very, very quickly. And as I said, I'm not worried or particularly concerned about any of the color changes here, because really this is just going to be a sample that I'm knitting through for Sara for the pattern. But first afterthought heel, that's going to be exciting. And the last project that I'm still working on, which is the one I'm spending most of my time on, of course, is what I'm hoping will be my Rhinebeck sweater. So this is the Bowmont jumper by Sonja Bargielowska. Can't say that right. But it's a free pattern on the Blacker Yarns website. And this is the pattern, if you remember, it starts at one arm, goes all the way up, opens up for the neck, and then comes down to the other arm here, the other sleeve. The trick is that it's all cables. So it's all cables from one wrist to the other wrist, all the way down. So I've done quite a bit on this now. So I finished the first arm, and there's this really pretty cable, split cable that goes all the way up the center of the arm, and that's where the neck splits, and then it comes back together and goes down the center of the other. So that's super pretty. So I've done all of this. I've split for the front and the back, for the head to go through, your head to go through, and then I'm working on down on the other sleeve, which is really exciting. And this goes really quickly now because I'm decreasing down to the wrist circumference. This is super, super stretchy yarn. I'm using, I had to get a new ball out, so I thought I'd show you, Elan.com Soft Embrace 4-ply. This is really slippery yarn. This would not be good for steeking at all, but it's really going to be pretty for this. It's very stretchy. And so what happens is that when you finish this piece, you actually go ahead and block it to size, and it stretches. It's very, very stretchy. So you'll be able to block it. I'll be able to block this exactly to the right size. And then what you do is you pick up the stitches all along here, and you join it together, so then you're just knitting in the round down for the body, which is really exciting. And that's just stockinette all the way down. So that's why I'm anticipating this will not be a difficult piece to finish for Rhinebeck. So I'm pretty excited about that. This is not for the faint-hearted. This is not a beginning cable piece either. The cables are super simple. I mean, it's not that difficult, but you have increases, so you're adding cables on the side, and then of course you're splitting the cables in the middle for this, and you have to do some short little bit of shaping here for the neck. But it's super pretty, and I actually really like this because what happens, I don't know if this will come up on the camera, but it's actually a cable edging right in the front there, so it's gonna be super pretty. I'm really looking forward to this. But if you're experienced with cables, I think this would be great. It'd be really interesting to have this like in cream and have a different color on the bottom. You could have something, you could fade this down. You could, you know, have, I don't know, anything. You could make this all variegated and this, the bottom part plain. So there's all kinds of things you could play with this. This I'm just making in this lovely chocolate brown color because this will be really great for, you know, a great wardrobe piece to throw on in maybe in the fall and the winter. So I'm very excited about this. So hopefully you'll see this in Rhinebeck as my Rhinebeck sweater. We're already talking about that. In fact, in between doing this, I'm like texting with Tracy about something at Rhinebeck. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm very, very excited about that, about all those. So those are my works in progress right now. So let us move on to some upcoming plans that I have. Upcoming knitting plans and spinning plans today. So first on my mind, it's getting closer and closer, is the annual Loops Harry Potter Knit Along. And you still have time to get in on this if this is something that you're interested in. This is going to be year 6 that we've been doing this. I really cannot believe that it's been 6 years. It's crazy. And I was in right from the beginning, so that's really crazy. I still remember the day when they put up put up a little thing in their group saying, hey, would anybody be interested in being a moderator? And I was like, and I clicked that, yes, I would. And here we are 6 years later. So the Harry Potter Knit Along is a 3-month knit along. It is October, November, and December, and it is run by Lydia of the Loops yarn, so oloops.com. And she is a fabulous yarn dyer, one of my favorite yarn dyers. And she runs this Harry Potter Knit Along. So, and we have, you as long as you purchase one skein of yarn from her Harry Potter line, you are able to participate in the knit along. You actually don't have to use any any Loops yarn, but as long as you've purchased one skein from her, then you can participate in the knit along. And there are lots of people that do, and lots of people that have come back year after year after year. So it really does kind of feel like school. It's time for to get back into Harry Potter again. And once you purchase a skein of yarn, if you're someone new, you can let the sorting hat sort you into a house. If you are someone who has played before and have already been sorted into a house and would like to remain with your house, you can just tell Lydia that and she'll put you back into your house. I am the moderator for House Hufflepuff, so I'm the professor for the Hufflepuff house, and there are 2 moderators for each house. One moderator is usually primarily responsible for dealing with scoring of points, and then the other moderator kind of is in there to encourage people and answer questions and just kind of be a jack of all trades and helping people out. And that has worked very, very well over the years. And as I said, the same people come back, so we see the same group of people in the house, and older students are very welcoming to the first year students, and there's lots of questions from the first year students, and each year is a little bit different. Lydia really kind of tries to mix it up in the challenges that we have. So each year we have a main challenge for each month. So October, November, and December we'll have a different Harry Potter themed challenge. So it could be something around Harry. It could be something around the Goblet of Fire. Something along the lines. And there'll be a theme, and so as long as you can come up with a reason how this particular project fits into this theme, you're good to go. And then we get points for completing the main projects. And then we also have extra credit projects. So those are smaller projects. For example, each December, one of the extra credit projects is not knitting, but it's sending out Christmas cards or holiday cards to other people in the knit along, and that's really kind of fun. So there are different things like that going on. There's usually sometimes there's some type of a charity projects involved. Gift knitting is involved. So it's really just a really fun thing. We usually try to have the October project be the main project be, I don't know, somewhere between 200 and 400 yards of requirement. So that kind of gets people into the into the theme. They can pick something. You pick a pair of socks, and that's going to use that up right away. The November project is our bigger project, so that's usually going to be something that's going to use 500 or 600 yards of yarn, and so that's going to be like would be maybe like a larger shawl, something along those lines. A little bit of a larger project to kind of get you deep into knitting. And then December is a smaller project because we know everybody in December is really trying to make up gift knitting and the usual December Christmas holiday craziness. And then at the end, each of the projects that you complete and post up will earn you points for your house. And so we have a house cup at the end of the project, and people get prizes, and there are all kinds of different random prizes that are handed out at the end. We also are doing some things because we have enough years now. We're doing some things like our students, depending upon their year, they might be studying for their owls. This camera cut out on me there, so I think what I was talking about again was the Harry Potter knit along, which I'm really looking forward to. So come on over to the O-Loops group and on Ravelry, and you can see all about it. Now, this may sound a little strange, but I'm really thinking ahead to January because I have Harry Potter going from October, November, and December, and I'm just thinking about changing things up a little bit in January. So I have so much fiber to spin. I'd love to spin. I just don't kind of get to it. And my wheel is right in the living room, but I tend to sit down and knit at night instead of spin. And I really enjoyed spinning. I miss it. So I think it's time to work through some of what I have. I had participated in the Fiber Share swap. I've done it twice. I did it a couple of years ago, and then I did it this past, when was it, last fall? I think it was last fall, and I participated in it. I really have a great time with that because you get a box full of either fiber or yarn, whatever. Really, you have a really great time with it, and you have you have someone sending to you, and you're sending to someone else. So it's really kind of fun. This year, I got this fantastically marvelous package from Melanie Smith Howard, and she processes yarn and fiber, and oh my gosh, she processed these beautiful, beautiful bats for me, which are right here. Look at the colors on this. It's so fantastic. And so, a bat opens up into a long sheet, and then you can pull strips off and spin from those. So this is so lovely and soft and unbelievably marvelous. And I really need to do something with this. This will be something for myself. I have 3 of these, and I'll probably make a beautiful shawl, something along those lines with this. But there is no reason for me to hold on to this and not get to it. I'm so excited about this, and I'm really, really looking forward to getting this on the wheel. Then I have, from 2 years ago at Christmas time, Sophia ordered me some fabulous fiber from the Countess of Blaze. Who doesn't want this? But this is this gorgeous silk, and there's a ton of it. There's almost 4 ounces of this. This is merino and tussa silk, called in the bitter saltwater colorway. I mean, look at this. Haven't touched this either. Have not touched this. And Lucy, my Harry Potter swap partner last year, sent me some beautiful Malabrigo merino in this fabulous purple colors. I haven't touched this either. And then Lisa, my local swap partner, just this week sent me this more gorgeous purple lavender roving from Port Fiber in Maine. I have to do stuff with this. I just have to. And if I sit down and spin it, then I can knit with this fabulous yarn that I'm going to make. So that's really my point. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try in January to just do that and really focus on spinning. I'll continue to spin now in between, but I think really that's really going to be my goal in January is to sit down at night and spin and see what I can come up with by the end of the month. So I think that's what I'm really looking forward to. So those are my upcoming plans for now. So let's move on to it. Just a little bit of chatter today. So what has been happening here? It's been pretty quiet. It's the end of the summer for us, so I've been very busy at work. I work at a college, so the students are going to be coming back within the next week and a half, so it's pretty busy. So bills are due, and so we're dealing with students trying to get their finances ready to go. It's a fun time. It's busy. I'd rather be busy than not. So that's kind of what's happening with me. And Sophia's very busy as well. She's been doing quite a bit at work. We did have a really fun time. She and I had tickets to go see the Adventure Zone, which was a live show of a podcast. I'll put the link in the show notes, but it was it was great. The Adventure Zone is as I said, it's an audio podcast. It's three brothers. They're adult, three brothers and their dad, so they're all adults, and they do a lot of other different podcasts. The McElroy brothers and their dad, Clint. But they started, I think, probably 2 years ago now, 2 years, if not more. They started playing a Dungeons and Dragons game, and all audio, and it is the funniest thing. I don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. I've never played it, but Sophia has listened to them for quite some time, and she really wanted to get tickets and go to see the live show. So a few months ago, she was like, "Mom, would you come with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely, I'll go." So she got the tickets, and then she showed me the podcast, and so I started listening to it. I'm like, sure, because there's nothing worse than going to something like that and not understanding what was going on. So I started to listen, and they are just hilarious. They're so funny, and it's really great because they're family. So there's all these kind of family jokes when they're not, when they're not in character. It's just really, really funny. It's just very, very funny, and it's really, really enjoyable. As I said, I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I understand it. I certainly understand it now, and how you definitely could make a really great story if you had the right people or the right dungeon master kind of running the show for it. So that was really great. That was a lot of fun, and we went into Boston one night and got to see that, and that was quite the experience. We have another live show coming up, and that is in the end of September, which we're pretty excited about. That is the Welcome to Night Vale podcast, audio podcast again. I've talked about this before, and my husband and I went to see a live show back in Albany several years ago, and my poor husband had no clue as to what was going on, and Sophia was still in Japan, and so she could not come. So I've seen their live show, and it was fantastic. So this time she and I are going to go. They're coming to Boston. They're doing a live tour. And again, Welcome to Night Vale is a great podcast to listen to if you kind of like off key things, a little off balance. It's just really, 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 really great characters, and it's just really fun. It's really kind of out there. It's kind of in an alternative universe, and it's great. It's hard to explain, but if you if you listen to a few of the episodes, it's just great. And that's also been going on for several years now. And that's actually one that I brought to Sophia. She had never heard about it, and I started listening to it, and then she got hooked on it. So we're both excited about going into Boston to see that at the end of September. We have been enjoying our time at the Boston Yacht Club. As I said, we were invited to be members back in June, and so you do a new thing like that, and it's always a little bit iffy. You're not quite comfortable just kind of walking in there, but people are just really, really nice. The bar area is it's beautiful. Big wooden bar. Oh my gosh, it's just beautiful. But you can sit outside and look out over the harbor and the boats. And every Wednesday night they have races out here in the harbor, and all of the yacht clubs get together and they do races. And what they do here at the Boston Yacht Club, which again is we live in the parking lot pretty much of the Boston Yacht Club, but they have an outdoor grill, they have an outdoor bar area, and they have obviously outdoor seating on the deck and the veranda, and they have umbrellas up. And so basically what they do is that it's open to the public, so anybody can come in if you're participating in the races, and they have burgers and drinks, and they had last week they had a special rum tasting, so Sophia had a nice little rum drink. That was really fun. And so we've done that a couple of times. My husband was away this past Wednesday night he got to go to the Red Sox game, with my brother-in-law, and so Sophia and I went over, and we just had burgers and a great drink on the deck, and that was it's really lovely. It's just, I feel so, it's such a treat. I feel so privileged to be able to do that. Not that it, I mean, we're paying for it, but that's okay. It's really great, and it's just perfect for us because we live right here. So if we don't feel like cooking, you can just go over to the club. And in the wintertime, it's going to be awesome because you can actually go inside and eat at the bar. And it just, in the wintertime, it's open all winter, but there just won't be as many people there. So that'll be, get home and just let's go over and, have our meal there. So that'll be really nice. So that's been really enjoyable. I wasn't quite sure what to expect with that, but it's been very, very enjoyable. And I think that's about it. We're getting excited about Rhinebeck. I know it's weeks away, but people are starting to talk about it, and we're just all excited about it. We rented a house again in Saugerties, and and Sophia and I probably are going to go up Thursday night and stay at my parents and do some socializing with my sister-in-law Tracy, and then we'll head down to Saugerties on Friday, and we'll be there Friday night and Saturday night, and we're going to go to Rhinebeck both days again. So we'll be at the podcaster meetup, and then we'll be there again on Sunday. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. It's always a lot of fun to talk to people and just socialize and look at some sheep and buy some great local yarn. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I really hope it's a nice weekend getaway. My husband and I might take a couple of days and maybe go up to Maine. We haven't been away anywhere since we went to Florida. We haven't been away, and that was with my in-laws. We haven't been away anywhere by ourselves in a long time, so that might be nice. We might take a couple of days at the end of September and do that. So I'm looking forward to that. The weather has been incredibly hot and humid. So here in the States, when it gets up above 85, and especially with the high humidity, it is unbearable, and that has been what we have had. It has calmed down a little bit over the last week or so, but this coming week, literally, it's going to be 96. I don't even want to say this. It's going to be 96 degrees, 95 degrees, 96 degrees, and that's here in Marblehead. And working in Boston, oh my gosh, I can't even like comprehend those that heat. Hopefully here we'll have a little bit of a sea breeze, because that's the only thing that's going to be saving grace. Otherwise we'll be camping out in Sophia's room because she's the only one with the air conditioner in the house here now. So all is well here. We are looking forward to the start of fall. And yeah, I think that's it. I want to say thank you for joining me today. Come follow me on Instagram and Ravelry. Come join our Ravelry group. We will often have knit-alongs, and we have giveaways, and we have we had our first swap, which was really great. That was really a lot of fun to do this past month or so. And just I hope everything is going well for the end of your summer, and we're looking forward to sweater weather, and getting to be able to feel comfortable enough to knit on those good hardy warm yarns for the wintertime. So I think that's it for now. I'm going to be dealing with the same issues using that new program again, so hopefully I remember what I did the last time. Maybe it'll be even a little bit better. We'll see. That'll be my day tomorrow. But anyway, thanks for joining me here today, and remember, it's just knitting. Bye.